All right, today we're cracking open a file on what might be the largest financial mystery in modern history, the Pentagon's missing trillions. And let me be clear, we're not just talking about some simple accounting mistakes here. No, this is an investigation into a system that feels like it was built to make public money, well, just disappear into the shadows.
Let's start with a number. Just 7. What does that mean? Well, that's how many times in a row the United States Department of Defense has completely failed its comprehensive financial audit. Not once, not twice, 7 straight years.
And if that number didn't grab you, this one will. $3.8 trillion. That is the value of assets that the Pentagon, the single biggest federal agency, literally cannot account for. They can't find it on their books.
So you got to ask yourself, is this just, epic level incompetence? A bureaucracy so big it can't count its own money? Or, and this is the core of our investigation today, is this failure to account for trillions of dollars an intentional feature, not a bug?
Okay, so let's really dig into this trillion-dollar question. To really get what's going on, you have to understand we are not talking about a rounding error here. This is a financial black hole, and it's swallowing up sums of money so huge they're almost impossible to even imagine.
I mean, look at this. This chart really lays it all out. Over 60%, more than half of the Pentagon's assets are just unaccounted for. Let that sink in for a second. The Department of Defense is the only federal agency in the U.S. that has never, not once, passed a financial audit.
Now, this isn't some new problem. In fact, according to the dossier we're looking at, a huge warning was sounded right before one of the most chaotic days in modern American history, a warning that was almost instantly buried.
Just look at this timeline. It's chilling. September 10th, 2001, the day before 9/11. The Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, actually goes public and says a massive amount of money is missing. Then, less than 24 hours later, the part of the Pentagon with the budget analysts trying to find that exact money is hit.
And these were his exact words. A total bombshell. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. I mean, can you imagine? He's sounding this massive alarm on the very eve of a day that changed everything.
So the unavoidable takeaway from the source material is this. The people and the paperwork needed to investigate that missing $2.3 trillion were literally at ground zero. The entire investigation just ended right there. The dossier calls this one of the most unbelievable coincidences you can imagine.
So how on earth do trillions of dollars just vanish? It's not like you can stuff it in a suitcase, right? Well, this next section breaks down the alleged architecture of the heist, the mechanics of how this financial magic trick is supposedly pulled off year after year.
Okay, so the first layer of the onion here is something called Special Access Programs, or SAPs. Think of them as super secret projects. But it gets even crazier. There's a category called waived SAPs, where the Pentagon doesn't even have to tell Congress they exist. They are, for all intents and purposes, operating completely outside the law. And then there's this, the IR&D loophole. IR&D stands for Independent Research and Development. And here's the trick. It's a totally legal way for private defense companies to bill the government for their own private research. You see where this is going? It's the perfect pipeline to move your tax money into secret, corporate-owned projects. So let's just walk through how this works. Step 1, your taxpayer money goes to the Pentagon. Step 2, it gets funneled through one of these IR&D charges to a huge private contractor. Think Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. Step 3, that contractor uses your money for a black project that you never hear about and that the government technically doesn't even own. It's basically a system for legal money laundering. Okay, so if this money isn't just lost in some giant messy spreadsheet, where's it going? What's it being used for? This is where the dossier points to some truly explosive whistleblower testimony that claims to connect all the dots. So, in 2023, a man named David Grusch, a former high-level intelligence officer, testifies under oath before the U.S. Congress. He starts talking about these secret government programs dealing with, well, non-human technology. And when they asked him, how are these programs funded, he said it, clear as day, by the misappropriation of funds.
And this, according to Grusch and the source material we're examining, is exactly where those missing trillions are going. They're not lost. They're being deliberately reallocated to fund programs to retrieve and reverse engineer non-human craft, to build deep underground military bases, and to research advanced propulsion that seems to defy the laws of physics as we know them.
And you might be asking, how do they keep this all secret? Well, it's brilliant, in a way. See, if the government itself held these alleged assets,
You could file a Freedom of Information Act request to find out about them. But by having private contractors hold everything, it's all protected under trade secrets law. It's a legal firewall. You, the public, can't touch it.
So, let's step back. What is the big picture here? In this final part, we're going to look at the massive consequences of a financial system that operates in total darkness, with what seems to be a limitless, untraceable budget. The dossier's conclusion is, well, it's blunt. It argues that this system is one of the biggest transfers of wealth in human history. It's a fire hose of money, flowing from the American public straight into the coffers of the private military-industrial complex. It's created a shadow economy that operates with a completely blank check.
And this slide really just lays it out side by side. On the one hand, you have all the things we see every day that need funding. Our crumbling roads, the national debt, healthcare, schools. And on the other hand, this alleged black budget spending unimaginable sums on secret tech and programs that are accountable to no one. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful claim from the source document. It says, the Pentagon's failure to pass an audit is not a clerical error. It is the operational shield for the deep state. In other words, the audit failure isn't the problem. It's the goal. It's a deliberate shield to hide a massive secret enterprise that's running on our dime, but without our permission.
And so this whole investigation leaves us with one final, really unsettling question. If trillions of our dollars are being siphoned off into a black budget totally beyond a law, totally outside of any kind of oversight, what secrets are we paying for?